Decluttering is an ongoing process and we strengthen our decluttering muscle over time. So today I've compiled quite a few videos sharing my tips and tricks that I've learned along the way through my decluttering journey. Let's get started with the best tips to stay clutter-free when it comes to paper. The best tip I can give you is to avoid paper altogether. Don't have it come in your house at all. And I do this by setting up all of my bills online. I go paperless, so I get an email and then I can just save the bill on my computer in a file that is very organized and completely paperless. The best way to stay very organized and minimal when it comes to paper is to deal with the paper that comes into your house immediately. Don't make a big giant stack of things to open later. The second I get my mail, I open it up, decide if it's important or if it's not. If it's not important, I recycle the paper immediately. If it is important, I put it straight on my desk to deal with again immediately. I personally hate having big stacks of paper that I need to get to at some point. I just can't stand that. So I try to deal with everything by the end of that day, so that way I don't have a bunch of paper piles everywhere. The next thing I've done is unsubscribed to everything that is unnecessary. So any flyers or junk mail that comes in, I try to find a phone number on there that says unsubscribe or take me off the list, and I just get rid of everything that I can that comes in the mail that is pretty much junk. Any coupons, flyers, ads, those all go straight into the recycling bin for me, because I find coupons are just another way to convince you think you need something to buy when you don't really need it. So all of that for me goes straight into the recycling bin right away. I don't even set it down. It's just a determination that I make immediately and straight recycled. Once you've set up all of those habits and routines, you're gonna find that you have way less paper to deal with right off the bat. And I can tell you from my experience way back when we first started decluttering a few years ago, I had a 3-drawer file cabinet. It was enormous and I was able to fill it. I thought at the time that every single thing that came into my house, whether it was a little note from the doctor or some kind of height and weight thing from the doctor for my kids, I had to save all that. So I would just file it and I never thought of it again. I never looked at it again. And then when I started decluttering all of my paper, I went through all of those files and I realized 80%, maybe 90% of what I had in there, I did not need. It was completely pointless. So I made sure to shred all of those papers and recycle them, get them out of my home. And I realized at that point, I did not even need the 3-drawer file cabinet. I could fit everything into my file box. This is all of the paper that I keep. As a minimalist family, I try to keep only the things that we truly need to have, like our birth certificates and important documents like that. And I also keep all the receipts and things that we need for taxes. I have a special file just for taxes that I start every January, and I can put everything that I need for the taxes that are going to be coming at the end of the year into that file, so I know exactly where to go to access that information. And I'm able to store all of that in this file box. The one thing I do not have in this file box is back taxes, but I have each of them by year in a folder. I keep the folders of back taxes in this little drawer here, and I go from oldest to newest on the top. As the new year comes in, I get rid of the oldest one. So I only keep 7 years, that's it. I get rid of them as soon as the new one's in. I almost forgot to tell you, the most game changer of tips is to store all of your paper in one location. I store everything in this closet in my office. If you don't have an office, I would suggest making some kind of area where you can put all of your paper, so all the bills, whatever you have to store. all in one area. It makes it so much easier. And then if there's ever someone in your home that needs to find something, they know at least if they go to this one location, they're more likely to find what they're looking for, rather than having little areas in the kitchen and in an office and in a bedroom. Just put it all in one spot. This helped me so much. Let's talk kid stuff. I have 2 boys, and this right here is how I store all of their stuff that I want to keep. In these simple binders is where I store my children's artwork, certificates, important things that I think that they've made that they may want when they get older, or I might want just to look back on. So for instance, in here I have my youngest son's handprint he did for me, and I make sure that I go through these often because I don't want to have duplicate items in here, or I just want to keep the best things that they've made, and I don't want to keep too much because I can tell you, my mom handed me a humongous bin of my stuff from my childhood that I quickly went through and realized I didn't want any of it. So I try to keep just a few things to remember each year as they're getting older. You can see this is my older son's book, and he's already got quite a lot in here. At the end of kindergarten, they handed us a bunch of stuff. I stuck it in here, and we still need to go through it. This may sound crazy to some people, but I do not keep all of my kids' art projects. There's just too much. But we do celebrate their art by hanging it. So here's an example of my youngest son's art or crafts. We hang them up so they can enjoy them. They love looking at them, and they're so proud of what they do. So we let this hang up for a while, and then as new projects come in, we will switch it out. Sometimes these will go into the book to save, but a lot of the time we will just recycle these once they forget about them, and we'll hang up the new art projects. So this is one way that we can celebrate the kids' art and let them enjoy it, so they don't feel as though we're just getting rid of it right away. And then I am off the hook for having to keep everything for the rest of our lives. Visual clutter, in my mind, is when I see a lot of busy things and my eye is just bouncing around from one place to another. Or in my home, for instance, when a surface is completely covered with stuff, it is clutter, but I know I want all those things in my home. It's just visual clutter at that point. So I try to find places for all these things to go. And the first tip I have is to make a drop zone. Behind me here, we have this little table that my husband made. It's right by our door, and I just simply put a basket here, and this is where I can set all my things when I walk in the door. I know I've mentioned this before in other videos, but this is where everyone knows they can put their things. When my mom is visiting, she sets her bag over here. Also, by having this designated area, I can have less things dropped onto my dining room table and our kitchen counters, which I know can be such a pain point for a lot of people out there. And by making a drop zone, it really helps with that, because then people know to come here first, drop off their stuff before they head into the house and carry on with what they're doing. And here in our kitchen, we live in a 1950s fixer-upper, and the tile is mint and yellow. So instead of picking yet another color to add to this room, I stuck with the same color theme of mint when we decided to do this wall right here. We added some beadboard to the bottom of this wall for a little bit of detail, and then I tried my hardest to match the same mint color to the tile here in this kitchen, just to pull it all together without adding a lot of extra colors and adding to the visual stimulation of this kitchen. I also reduced visual clutter in my kitchen cabinets and pantry by putting everything into clear containers and taking it out of the busy or bright colored packaging. By limiting the amount of open shelves you have, it will help with visual clutter. And I know open shelving is so trendy right now, but what I've done is up here, I've added some baskets, so we're not seeing all of the little pieces of clutter. We just see one large basket, which really helps reduce the amount of visual clutter I'm seeing. And by storing these up here, I can keep the visual clutter off of my open shelf. And over here on this giant wall, I opted to go with 3 large canvases rather than having a large gallery wall with a bunch of little pieces of art. And while that looks great for a lot of people, they love it, for me, I like when my eye can just visually rest. Another great way to make your home feel cohesive and put together is to pick about 3 to 5 colors that all go together and work together to use throughout your home. I've done this. I mean, we vary from it a little bit in my boys' room, but overall we have white, kind of a natural wood color, light blues and grays, and then a more earthy toned gray that I like to work with throughout our home. And of course, once in a while, we'll put a pop of brightness into our home with maybe a pot or something like that. But I try to stick to that color theme because it makes our home feel very cohesive. And again, it just makes it feel calm and clutter-free rather than having a whole bunch of different colors that contrast and don't go together, which can be very visually stimulating. The other thing I try to do is limit the amount of patterns in my home. Yes, I still have patterns. I love patterns, but I try to use maybe 1 or 2 patterns at the most in a bedroom. I noticed when we lived in our condo and I first started decorating there, I had way too many different patterns. They were all clashing and it just never looked put together, and it looked very visually cluttered. I have a really bold pattern here, and I like to use patterns on things that I can switch out like a blanket rather than the actual chair itself, because it makes it easier when decorating, or if I decide to move that item from one room to the next, I don't have this bold pattern I have to work with. So that's another thing you can look into when you're trying to calm your home or make it less visually cluttered, is just, do you have too many patterns in each room? Another way I avoid a little bit of clutter in my living room is I opted to not have a coffee table. We are so happy we decluttered our extra little coffee tables that we had when we first started to become minimalist, and I just find coffee tables tend to attract a ton of clutter, and also they seem to look kind of funny when they're empty as well. So most people end up putting a tray with all kinds of decorative things on there, and I just felt it looked so much better to have an open rug where we can walk straight to the seat we want to sit in, and we do have a place to put our drinks if we do have drinks in here. Is the little side table with my lamp, but 9 times out of 10 we don't drink in this room or eat in this room, so we are perfectly happy without all the clutter that a coffee table brings. One thing I like to do is store items that are not currently in use. So in my kitchen, I try to store away all the appliances in my cupboard so I'm not seeing them out on the counter. The only thing we keep out is our toaster and the hot water kettle, because we use those throughout the day, every day. But other than that, I usually put the appliances away so I'm just not seeing that visual clutter. And I also ended up keeping 2 pillows from my Stop Doing Pillow Declutter video, which I can link below. But I kept 2 pillows, so when we do want to lay down, we can pull out those throw pillows and lay on the couch and use them. But other than that, I keep them stored in our linen closet, and along with all the throw blankets and anything else that we use on the couch, because I just feel it looks way less cluttered in my home when I'm not seeing those pillows on my couch. So that is another thing you could think about, is just storing things away and then getting them out when you actually need to use them. Another thing I try to remember to do is to actually put things away. I know this sounds so simple and obvious, but taking that extra step and putting something away instead of leaving it out. Slippers are a big thing for me. So sometimes I take my slippers off and just leave them by my bed, and it looks so much better in our room if I take the extra step and just put the slippers into my closet. So I just want to say that taking that extra moment to put something away, and I think there's a rule, if it takes you less than a minute to put something away, you might as well just do it at that moment. You'll be so much happier, your home will look cleaner and neater, and it'll just keep you on top of your home rather than being overwhelmed by everything being left out all the time. How to help someone declutter. Over the last 5 years, I have not only decluttered my entire home and life, but I have also helped my mom and my dad and a lot of friends and family declutter their homes as well. So the first thing I learned is that I am not decluttering for the person, I am decluttering with them, I am helping them declutter, but of course I cannot make any of the decisions on what they should keep and what they should donate. I can help them talk through the situation and ask them questions. But when it comes down to it, the person who is doing the actual decluttering is the one who's going to have to make the decision on whether to keep the item or donate the item. And of course, there have been times when I've been helping someone declutter, let's just say my mom, and I feel, why doesn't she just get rid of that item? I don't understand why she wants to keep it. But in that case, it doesn't really matter. It's not up to me, it's up to that person. And I try not to push my ideas on them. I just try to help my mom or whoever I'm helping declutter, help them think through why they want to keep it and what is the reasoning, and then just make the piles and let them get rid of the things that they feel they should get rid of in their own time. The second lesson I've learned is to be extremely encouraging when helping someone declutter, but not encouraging them to get rid of more, but just encouraging them to get through the process, to finish it up, helping pull items out and questioning whether they want it or not, helping them organize stuff, and just being very positive and uplifting and just encourage them. But I try not to push them to get rid of more than they want to, because the last thing I would ever want is for them to regret getting rid of something or feel as if they are being rushed through the process. So I like to encourage, but not try to influence them. I also like to mention all the positive benefits of being clutter-free or living with less. It's easier to clean and organize and all of those sort of benefits, because that can always help someone to want to get rid of more on top of what they're already wanting to get rid of. Tip number 3 is to give the person you are helping declutter some strategies on the best ways to declutter and maybe different ways that will work for them in particular. A lot of the decluttering methods that I've heard of is to pull everything out and then sort it into piles, and that is great when you have a lot of room. But one time I was helping a friend declutter and she was in a tiny bedroom, and it just did not make sense to pull everything out at once. So what we did was pulled out each item from her closet, and she made the decision right there. So then we would sort it into the pile immediately, or we would put it into a pile to come back to later to go through. So I do feel you can help the person in the particular situation they're in to declutter and pick which strategy will work the best for their situation, because I feel decluttering is not a one-size-fits-all type of situation. There's always different ways, and if someone gets overwhelmed very easily, then again, I don't think it's the best decision to pull everything out at once and try to go through it all at one moment. Tip number 4 on my list is to try to avoid getting overwhelmed and having the person you're helping get overwhelmed. And that can happen easily, especially if someone's asking you for help. A lot of the time, they already get overwhelmed easily with the thought of decluttering and dealing with all of these items. So in that case, again, I like to try to keep it as organized as possible in different bins, keep, donate, or trash. And I also like to make sure, since I'm the person helping, I like to go through and pull those items out of the room as soon as possible. When the donate pile gets too large, I will take it out of the room and make sure we label it so we can just clear it out as quick as possible. And it just helps to avoid that feeling of overwhelm where you just want to quit. When someone is new to decluttering, sometimes they are unsure of what to keep and what to get rid of. So a lot of the time I will just ask them a few questions. For instance, if it's clothing we're decluttering, when is the last time you wore this? Does it still fit? Is this still your style? And do you see yourself wearing this in the future? And all of those questions can help the person decide if they want to keep the item or let it go. And the most important lesson I've learned when helping someone declutter is to take the donation items out as quick as possible from the house, because sometimes when someone's a little unsure, they might start to go back through the pile that they've left by their door to declutter. Next thing you know, they're pulling things out, they're second guessing what they wanted to get rid of. And I find once it's out of their house, out of sight, out of mind, then they can also see the benefits almost immediately of their clear, clean space and all of the room that they've gained by getting rid of these things. So definitely I like to take the items they're going to declutter straight to the place where I'm going to donate these items to, or if the items need to be thrown away, throw it away immediately. Don't wait and have it sit there, because not only will the person possibly go through it, but other people in their family might go through it as well. And again, I like them to see the benefits of decluttering immediately. Some people need the support of others when they're trying to declutter, and it can also be a really fun process to declutter as a team and have the support of somebody else there with you to go through all these things and help you stay organized. So if you have the opportunity to help somebody declutter, I think that it is so much fun and it's just a great support for that person. So we're gonna talk about 5 10-minute decluttering projects that you can do that are pretty easy and can be done quickly. Going through your shoes is a 10-minute project, or for most people can get done in 10 minutes. What I like to do is separate my shoes into piles, keep, donate, trash, or recycle if you recycle shoes. I actually have a whole blog post on how to declutter shoes, but it should be super quick and easy and can be done in probably around 10 minutes. Another quick decluttering project that could take under 10 minutes is going through your medicine cabinet and look for items that are expired or that you never use. For instance, we never use this hand soap container anymore. I kept it as a backup, but I don't know if we need this anymore. So I think sometimes with our medicine cabinet, we just toss things in there and we don't even know if we need them anymore. So that's a really quick decluttering project. Go through, pull it all out, and see what you are not using anymore. Expired items, things that you maybe bought that you thought you were going to use, love, that were going to solve a problem and they didn't. Just get rid of all those items, and I'm pretty sure this could be done in under 10 minutes. I'm just gonna whisper because I know there's gonna be an echo because I'm in my hall, but hall closets are something that could definitely be an under 10-minute project. Sorry for the echo because this is a really old house and sometimes there's an echo in here. Don't comment that you hear an echo. I'm sorry. Here we go. I just pulled out 3 items that don't belong in there, and I don't even know where these came from and why we still have them. Sometimes a hall closet can be a catch-all, but that took probably 3 seconds. I know everything else in there I like. Gonna see where this stuff should be going. Another project that takes under 10 minutes in most homes is to clear the countertops. So we get into our daily routine, and a lot of the time things come out. So we have a box of tissues, you know, stuff for a smoothie machine still left out, our compost bin, and sometimes it just gets left out. So a really great 10-minute or under declutter or project to do to put things away is just go through and look at your countertops, do a visual scan of what needs to be put away, what could actually go if you have a lot of appliances that you don't use very often that have just been on your countertop, taking up valuable space. All of that could probably be decluttered or put away. So that's a great 10-minute or under project to do in your kitchen. The nice thing about that sort of project is you get instant results. So instantly your house will feel calmer, cleaner, and just look more put together. One of the things I always forget to go through, but is great to revisit at least once or twice a year, is makeup. This is actually my backup makeup. At one point I had so much makeup that I went through, decluttered, but kept all the things that I think I would use eventually. So I haven't had to buy makeup in a really, really long time. But I just like to revisit this and see if I'm still gonna want to use certain things. See, something like this I haven't used in so long, and I don't think I'm gonna use this, so this can probably go. But I can go through all of this in under 10 minutes, and maybe I'll find some things that I wanna pull out and start using, or things that I just probably don't need anymore because I haven't used it in so long that I no longer need to keep it. 10 ways to find time to declutter. A lot of people tell me that they just do not have time to declutter. It's too overwhelming. Pause. She just threw all these random socks in here and said, I'm gonna deal with the socks later. That's full of socks.
I know. There's winter socks, there's short socks, there's long socks. You know, you gotta have a lot of socks.
They're too busy, so they just don't do it. And I would like to just give you 10 different ideas of ways that you could possibly find some time in your day to do a little bit of decluttering. My first suggestion is to set a timer, because I know I tend to forget when I'm trying to get something done. My day just starts going and I completely forget that I meant to do something. So schedule it in your phone, have a timer go off at the same time, maybe every evening. It'll all depend on your schedule, but set your timer and just declutter for about 10 to 20 minutes every single day, and you will be very surprised what you can get done in that short amount of time. The second idea I have, and I've done this so I know it does work, is have a donation box or bag by your back door, by the front door, in your garage, wherever it works for you. Just seeing the box will trigger your mind and remind you that you are on a decluttering journey, that you are trying to go through your home and get rid of things that you don't need. And then every time you see an item that you aren't using, whether you're in your kitchen, your living room, your dining room, you can just go put it in that box, and slowly over time, you will end up decluttering your whole house. My third suggestion is just to go around your home each day and find 5 items that you know you are no longer using. Here is a perfect example of how I found 5 items without really spending more than about 2 minutes. I opened my kitchen cupboard and found 3 cups that my children have grown out of, and I knew I could quickly get rid of these. I also found a pair of slippers that no longer fit, plus some random things that were thrown in a bin that look like they could be trash at this point. So maybe you're getting dressed in the morning and you see 5 pieces of clothing that you know you haven't worn in a really long time. Grab those items out, put them in a bag, stick them in your car, and drop them off the next time you are out. And you could do this every day, you could do this monthly. It's really up to you, but that's a really quick way to find time to declutter, is when you're in an area, you see something, you grab it out. If you ever find an item that you have never used and you don't even know where it came from, that's this. I just found this and I'm wondering what set of pans it even goes with, and I know I've never used this, so I'm gonna declutter this, but I'm really just wondering where it even came from. And I say 5, you could do 10, depends on how much you need to declutter, but by giving yourself an amount, I feel you will quickly find those items. I did a decluttering challenge a few years ago. It was 60 items in 60 minutes, and I was shocked at the amount I was able to find because we had already been decluttering our house. So this really does work, especially if you're only trying to find 5 items. I think most of us who need to declutter could easily find 5 items each day. Here I have about 15 items, and it only took me around 10 minutes to run through my house and grab out the items that I know I wasn't using. Another simple way to make time for decluttering is to either wake up 10 minutes earlier than normal or go to bed 10 minutes later than normal. Just make sure that you designate those 10 minutes for decluttering, because I know sometimes if I don't know that I'm using those 10 minutes, they will be gone before I can actually start decluttering. So personally, I'm not a huge morning person. I like to wake up slowly. So for me to just go to bed 10 minutes later is super simple. And I know those last 10 minutes, I might just open a drawer, go through, see what I can get rid of. And that's a really quick, easy way to find some extra time to declutter. Also, 10 minutes a day adds up to 60 hours a year, which is a lot of time for decluttering. Maybe it wouldn't be one of those huge decluttering processes where you're pulling everything out, but 10 minutes a day really will make a dent on your clutter that you need to get rid of. Number 5 is ask for some help with decluttering. You might have a family friend that's really good at organization and they're really good at decluttering. There are tons of courses out there. I've made an ebook that I have linked down below, which shows exactly the process we use to declutter everything in our lives. So you can check that out if you're interested. But just finding someone who's willing to help you can really help with the decluttering process, because they're going to encourage you and they're going to be your partner in crime to get this done. Number 6 is start small or work on a small area at a time. This will help you to get something done, and you can do it in a short amount of time, and you can chip away at those larger projects. For instance, if I needed to declutter my whole entire kitchen, I could start technically just one drawer at a time, or one cupboard at a time, or one item at a time. Go around and analyze, am I using this appliance? Okay, keep it good. Am I using this appliance? No, donation box. You could do that and it would only take a few seconds each day. I think a lot of us think KonMari declutter, where we're ripping everything out and it takes all day or a full week. And a lot can be done in just small increments of time. Number 7 is for those people that want their whole house decluttered right now. And I would suggest, if that is you and you don't get overwhelmed really easily, one way to find time is maybe take some vacation time, or maybe when you have a holiday or a weekend that you know you're not going to be doing anything, designate that whole time to decluttering. Get your people to help you and just go through everything and get the project done. That's one way to find time, is really designate those days that you have off. It may not be fun, but the benefits that you will have from having a decluttered home, you will thank yourself a million times over. Number 8 is for those really organized people, and that is just to make a list and mark it from most difficult places that you need to declutter to the easiest places to declutter. And then just, I say, start at the easiest place in your home to declutter. Start going through everything. Decluttering for me is like a muscle. The more I do it, the stronger I get, the easier it gets. And then after you've done those easy areas that don't take a lot of time, you can transition into the harder areas of your home where you may need to spend a little bit of extra time. Once you have your itemized list of areas that you want to declutter, you can then set dates on your calendar and set times during those days that you intend to declutter those areas. 14-day minimalist challenge that I came up with, and I have a lot more information about this over on my blog, so I will link that post down below. But here are the 14 items that are very simple to do, and I thought it would be great to just go one day at a time and do one simple task to try to become a little bit more minimal. Day 1, evaluate your spending. So this should be extremely simple, but every once in a while I like to simply get a piece of paper and draw a line right down the middle of it, and on one side write down all of the money that I make, and on the other side write down all of the things that I have to spend my money on. For instance, food, rent, gas, things that are necessities. And then I write down all the items that I spend my money on that are not really necessities. And I just do an evaluation to make sure that I'm still making more money than I'm spending. And this is something that could probably be done within about 30 minutes to an hour. And that is the task for day 1. Day 2 would be to declutter 10 items from your home. This could be a closet or your wardrobe, wherever, but try to find 10 items that you're no longer using, that you no longer need or want in your home. And even though we have decluttered everything, I can usually still come up with 10 items at least each season. So this might be harder for some people and easier for others, but just find 10 items on day 2 and put them in your decluttering box. Day 3 is to assess how much furniture is in your home. When we first started to become more minimal, I realized we had a lot of furniture that we didn't really need. We had 2 coffee tables that were kind of small and really unnecessary. We didn't really use them. And it was just surprising how many extra pieces of furniture we had collected over the years that were just sitting there that weren't really needed. So that's one more way to become a little bit more minimal, is assess how much furniture is in your home. Day 4 goes along with day 1, and that is just to make a budget. So if you already have a budget going, great, you don't need to do this one task this day, but I've found that making a budget has helped us to save a lot more money for retirement. And it's a very simple task. It just takes a little bit of time to evaluate where your money is going and just come up with a budget to make sure your money is going where you want it to go and isn't just leaving your wallet never to return again. Day 5 is to go and pick one drawer in your home and declutter it, organize it, and just get one little area super organized and spick and span, and that may start a whole snowball effect of organizing more areas and decluttering a little bit more in your home. This drawer is pretty neat, but I no longer use this. So I think I'm going to declutter this. This drawer is also pretty good, but I think I'm gonna pull these out and let the kids use them because I use mechanical pencils and I don't see myself using these. So I'm gonna let them use them, or else I'm going to donate them. Day 6 is to go through and declutter your social media accounts. I like to go through the accounts I use all the time and just make sure I still want to be following all of the people and places that I follow, and make sure that it's adding to my life and not actually distracting me from my life. So this takes about 10 to 20 minutes, probably depending on how many people you follow, but this is something I like to do pretty regularly. Day 7 is to go through your car and clean and declutter it. I don't store a lot of stuff in my car, but it is surprising how many things tend to be left in my car from my kids, dirty masks, and just wrappers, and just random things end up appearing in my car out of nowhere. So take this day to just go through and see what you can grab out of there. It shouldn't take long, and then maybe treat yourself to a car wash. Day 8 is to find 10 or as many books as you have that you are never going to read again. Maybe you read it, you loved it, but you are never going to read it again, and see if you could pass these books on to someone that you know that would enjoy it, or you could donate it, or you can even sell books on eBay. So try to go around and declutter any books that you no longer need. So I know I just got this one a few weeks ago from our local little library, and I read through it a little bit. I am not going to continue reading this, so I'm going to declutter this back to the little library so somebody else can enjoy it. Day 9, go through your medicine cabinet. I love to do this regularly because there's always products that we bought and didn't end up using or liking, or it just didn't work out. Day 10 is to go through your home decor and declutter anything that you are no longer going to be using. I've had so many comments from people mentioning that they keep extra home decor and they're not sure what to do with it. So just take this day to analyze what you have, what you no longer want, or maybe isn't your style anymore, and declutter those items. I stuck some curtains in here that we're no longer using, and I also have a whole bunch of storage containers that are completely empty from decluttering and reorganizing that I store up here. So I'm just gonna pull all this out, go through it, and see if I really need to keep these curtains or if I can repurpose them for something else. Not that long ago, we decided to declutter probably 90% of our decorative pillows. I just felt they were more of a nuisance and they weren't bringing any kind of joy to my life at this moment. And it might just be the season of life I'm in with 2 little kids, but we kept 2 pillows that we can pull out and use on the couch. And other than that, I decluttered everything else. So just take this day to go through and see what decor or seasonal decor you can get rid of and declutter from your home. On day 11, I'm suggesting to book some time to just relax and do nothing. Part of becoming more minimal for our family was so we could slow down, spend more time outside and relaxing, maybe going for a walk, but just book some time in your day to do nothing and just live and breathe and make some delicious food or whatever makes you happy. But book some time on this day to just relax. Day 12, go through your phone and delete any old apps that you are no longer using. I was surprised that I had a lot of photo editing apps that I never use anymore, just clogging up my phone. So go through and get rid of any of those apps you don't need anymore. And along this same line, you could go through all your photos on your phone. I did this recently because my phone notified me that there was no more space, and I guess it just had been a really long time since I had downloaded everything and taken it off my phone. So I did that, and now my phone is working so much better. So take the time today to just go through and deal with all those things that we tend to put off. On day 13, I'm suggesting to try to start one new good habit. This could be anything that you feel you want to start. Maybe it could be drinking more water throughout your day, exercising, tidying up right after you're done doing something, decluttering more often, whatever it is that is going to make you happy and improve your life, but just try to start implementing one new good habit. And on day 14, make sure you drop off all your donations at your donation location of choice. I know a lot of the time we will have a big box of donations in the back of our car or some kind of corner in our house collecting dust. So take the last day of this challenge to go drop everything off, and hopefully someone can find some joy in the things that you no longer need. I just want to share my best tips that have really helped me over the years to declutter my clothes and keep a very simple, minimal wardrobe. Here is my closet. I share this closet with my husband. And my first tip for getting started with decluttering your closet or your wardrobe or your clothes, wherever you store them, I would suggest to visualize how you want your closet to look like in the end, and how many drawers you want to have and how many clothes you want to have. Try to visualize how you want that to look. Back when we first started decluttering, we lived in a different house and I had my own closet. It was about the same size as this whole entire closet put together, and my husband and I had our own separate areas to store things. And so I wanted my closet to look extremely organized. I wanted to have a section for shirts, a section for pants. Because I had the room, I wanted my closet to look very spacious and have space between all of my clothing items. I wanted to have areas for shoes. I just wanted it to look extremely organized, and I knew it was possible because I did have a larger space than I have right now. and I was able to really take advantage of that. But I found by visualizing how I wanted it to look in the end made me realize how much I really wanted to declutter and where I wanted to go with my closet. I even jotted down a little picture of where I wanted to add some shelves. So really get creative with this, but try to visualize that end product because it really helps with the decluttering process. My decluttering journey, especially for clothing, took quite a while. I would declutter a lot of stuff and then I would realize that I wasn't wearing a lot of things. I would go back and I would declutter over and over again, because what I found is that first initial declutter gets rid of a lot of the really obvious stuff. But when you revisit over time all of the items that you have left, you might realize, hey, there's a whole bunch of things that I'm continuing to pass by and not wear, or you might find that it's not really your style anymore, but you were holding on to it in hopes that you might still wear it. So I would just suggest to take your time when you are decluttering your wardrobe, do an initial declutter, and then revisit your wardrobe again in 6 months, in 9 months. It doesn't have to all happen in one day or one weekend. You can take your time. And that's how my decluttering journey went. It was nice because I knew exactly what I could let go of and not be fearful that I was going to regret those decisions. After you have visualized exactly how you want your closet to look in the end, these are the tips that I would suggest trying out to get your closet decluttered and more minimal. And if you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button to join my channel and see all of the decluttering videos that I share here. I like to start by having as many of my clothes as possible in one area. So if I have a bunch of dirty clothes, I try to wash those, hang them up, or put them in my drawers. So I just know everything is here. I'm not going to miss some stuff and have to come across it later. I like to declutter everything at one time or go through it at one time. The next thing I would suggest is to go through your closet and find all the items that you wear all the time. And this may seem a little bit opposite of what a lot of people say, which is take everything out and then go through it. But I think it's easier to see all of your clothes when they're hanging or neatly folded and just pull out those items that you wear every week or every month and they're your favorite things, and set those aside because you know you're gonna wanna keep those. So it's nice to just get that out of the way. And if you don't feel like pulling it out, you can even hang it all to one side and know those are the items that you are keeping. Now that you have your staple favorites out of the way, you can go through and find all the items that you only wear once in a while. So then you can pull all of these items out and put those in a pile and start going through them. When you're analyzing these items that you only wear once in a while, I would ask yourself a few questions. For instance, does this item still fit me? Is it still my style? Did I possibly buy a certain dress because I thought I would wear it for a certain occasion, but I didn't? Or maybe you wore something for a certain occasion and that occasion is over now and you're never gonna wear it again. I had a bridesmaid dress that I held on to for about 3 years, and then I finally realized I am never going to wear that again. It didn't really fit any sort of event I would have gone to, and it also wasn't really my style. But because I had spent so much money on it, I kept holding on to it and it was doing no one any good. So I finally decluttered that item and now hopefully someone else can use it. But this is a good thing to think about, because sometimes we do hold on to things because they were expensive or we thought we would wear them, but we realize it's really not our style or it just doesn't fit us anymore. After trying this on, I am definitely going to declutter this. This is something that my mom had bought for herself, but it was way too small and it just is really kind of poorly made. She bought it from online not knowing, taking a chance, and it's just not my style. It doesn't fit me actually, it's way too big. So instead of holding on to this and clogging up my wardrobe, I'm gonna let this go. When I have an item that I'm really questioning, I try to imagine where I would wear this item. If I'm not gonna wear it in my everyday life, am I going to wear it to a party? Or where can I envision myself wearing this thing? And if I can't think of even one place that I might possibly wear this item, whether it's a dress, whatever it is, I then can let it go because I know that there's never gonna be somewhere I'm gonna wear this thing. And I've had to realize that sometimes I would buy things thinking I want to dress up more or thinking there will be a special occasion, and then I always pass that item by and wear something else. So sometimes we have this fantasy version of what we're going to dress like or go do, and then we never dress up or do those things. So in that case, that's when I will declutter that certain item of clothing. Now that you've set everything aside that you always wear, you've gone through the items that you wear once in a while or rarely wear, now it's time to go through everything that is left. For me, when I first started decluttering my wardrobe, I had bins of clothes that were in this IKEA bin holder that I now use for toys in my boys' room. I had a bunch of clothes and scarves and hats and things that I never wore. These were all items that I had had for the last 10 years, and I would just put them aside when I stopped wearing them instead of decluttering them. At the time, I had never really heard of decluttering. It was very new to me. And of course, I would get rid of things that were totally worn out or did not fit anymore or were damaged in some way. But everything else I would usually just stick in a bin thinking, hey, maybe I'll wear that next summer or next winter, or maybe it will become trendy again if it was an item that was no longer trendy or no longer something that really fit my style. So now is the time to really go through those items and pull out the things that you've set aside or that you never wear or haven't worn for years. Maybe it just doesn't fit anymore and you thought that you might fit into it again. Either it's too big or too small. I had both of those things because when I was pregnant, I had a bunch of clothes that were really large, and I kept thinking, well, what if I gain weight? And then I had a bunch of clothes that were really small, and I would think, what if I lose weight? I'm gonna wanna wear these things. And I have to say that out of all my decluttering, I've never once regretted anything that I've gotten rid of or anything that I've decluttered. So just so you know that, it might set your mind at ease and make it a little bit easier for you. But I would just try these items on and really question, is it your style? Is it something that you want to wear or continue wearing? And honestly, as people, we evolve and we change. And something that I wore when I was 24 is not something that I'm going to want to wear when I'm in my mid-30s. So, and we shouldn't have to feel like we have to stick with one style our whole lives. So I think it's okay to let go of those things and move on and pick a new style or let your style evolve, but don't feel that you have to hold on to all those things that you had in your past. The best question you can ask yourself is, when is the last time I wore this item? This helps so much. Whenever I've helped somebody else declutter, I've helped my mom, I've helped family, friends, and I always ask this question because if they've set it aside right away saying, oh, I wear this all the time, you don't need to ask that question. You know the things you wear all the time. But then there are just those items that are difficult to let go. They're just hard to get rid of because maybe you spent a lot of money, someone gave it to you that is important to you. And just asking that question of, when is the last time I wore this? And then, am I ever going to wear it again? Those questions really help when you're trying to downsize and declutter your wardrobe. Another thing you can look for, kind of a red flag if you're trying to downsize, is having duplicate items. And I'm not saying one or two of something, I'm talking 5 or 6 white tank tops or black tank tops or something that you might wear often, but maybe you don't need so many. So looking for duplicate items or anything that is uncomfortable or makes you feel uncomfortable and makes you want to change out of an item, that again is something that I started to do in the last 2 years. Is anytime I took off a shirt or something that was bothering me, maybe it was itchy or had static cling, I would not hang it back up. I would tell myself there's a reason why I'm changing out of this, and I need to declutter this item because I'm gonna feel exactly the same when I go to wear this item again in a few months or a few weeks. Sometimes it can be hard to get into the mood to declutter. So I'm going to show you all different clips of me helping my friends and family declutter, as well as a bunch of decluttering projects that I have done throughout the past few years to keep our home nice and clutter-free. My first tip is to read some books on decluttering, simple living, and minimalism. There are a ton of books out there and they're pretty easy to find. One I love is The Art of Swedish Death Cleaning. I will link that down below, and I have a video on that as well. But those type of books can really get you into the decluttering mindset, and they also have a ton of tips and tricks in them on how to get through the decluttering process. You can actually read this whole blog post that I will also link below on all of these decluttering tips, which might give you some more motivation and ideas. My second tip is to watch someone declutter. There are so many videos on YouTube with people decluttering. It can be very motivating to see a before and after clip of someone decluttering, or to see a before and after picture of a home that has been decluttered. Another great reason to watch a motivational decluttering video is it may give you a few tips on different ways to declutter, because I find most people declutter in their own unique way, and that gives me a lot of ideas. And when they're done decluttering, a lot of the time they will organize their home, and sometimes I get some new ideas on how to organize different areas of my house. So definitely motivating decluttering videos is a great way to get motivated yourself. Number 3 is to design your clear, clutter-free space. I like to envision how I want my room that I'm decluttering to look. You can either sketch this out or map out how you want your furniture to go once everything that you don't need anymore is decluttered. Also, finding some pictures online can help to motivate you as well. I know it always does for me. And knowing that once the clutter is gone, it will be easier to decorate and organize everything. Number 4 on my list is to think about how you want to feel in the space that you're decluttering. Most people want to feel calm and inspired, or maybe relaxed. I know when I first started decluttering, as you can see right here, my boys were very young, and I felt overwhelmed with all the mess that we had with having young children. So I just decided to downsize, and that made me feel a lot more in control and calm. So I like to just jot down a list of how I want to feel and how I want my space to function, and this can really help to be a motivating factor when it comes to letting go of the items that may be holding you back and cluttering up your life. Number 5 is to just start. And I think this is kind of hard for some people, but start small, get the ball rolling. Once you get going, it is easier to carry on decluttering more and more. I like to just pick a small, easy area in my home, one drawer, or just pick up a few items that I know have been bothering me that I don't want anymore, put them in a bag and take them out to your car or wherever you hold your stuff that you're waiting to donate, and go through what you can when you have the time. And this really does work. Everything in little bite-sized pieces is easier than trying to think of decluttering your whole home as one large project. So as you can see here, we were decluttering my mom's garage, and this was something that we had started way back. She had been decluttering things for months, and then we finally decided to go for it and finish the rest of the project. And if we hadn't done all those little decluttering projects leading up to this, we would have never had this huge transformation. Number 6 on my list is to ask for help decluttering. When all else fails, just ask for some help. This could be a friend. You can get a professional organizer or just someone who loves to declutter. And this will help when you get held up on small little things or sentimental things, and being able to talk through that with somebody else really helps this decluttering process in a lot of ways. And I have helped quite a few of my friends, my parents with some decluttering projects. And I can see why some of them do get hung up. And most of the time it's because it just seems overwhelming to begin with. There's so much to go through. And by having a friend there, they can help you sort through things and move piles in and out of your house or wherever they need to go. And another thing is decluttering with someone else can make the process fun rather than a burden. So that is one reason why I always like to declutter with someone else, because it just lightens the load and makes it a really fun project that we can laugh about as we're going through things. Number 7 on my list is to make some time to declutter. The odds of having a whole week to declutter your entire house is probably going to be very rare for most people. I like to just set aside about 10 to 15 minutes every day when I'm really wanting to declutter and go through what I can during that time. If I run out of time, then I just stop where I am and I pick up the next day when I have that extra time again. It's super surprising how much can be decluttered in just 10 minutes. I have a whole video on that I will link down below. My mom and I timed ourselves to see how much we could declutter out of one of her closets, and we were able to get rid of a huge pile of things. So don't underestimate how much you can actually declutter in a short time. And that is one way to get through your home, is slowly, because there is no race when it comes to decluttering. There's no prize at the end of it except for a nice clutter-free home. So take your time and go through it when you have the time, and don't let that slow you down or stop you from the decluttering process. Number 8 on my list is to let money motivate you. A lot of things that are sitting in your garage or in your closet could possibly be worth something. Think about all the money you could be making by decluttering, and let that be a way to get motivated. There are a lot of apps and ways to sell things super easily. And a lot of stuff, yes, is going to be worth nothing. And probably a lot of things will have to be either recycled or thrown away. But think of even making a few dollars here and there over a big span of time can make you a lot of money in the end. Think you could have a garage sale or a yard sale and let that be a motivating factor. One thing I try to remember is that anything that doesn't sell at my garage sale, I'm going to have picked up by a thrift store or loaded into my car and drop it off at a secondhand store. And that's just one way to make sure everything that you didn't want doesn't end up back in your house. As you can see here, I'm going through all of my bathroom stuff. This was a few years ago, but something that is often overlooked is all of the lotions and potions that we keep in our bathrooms that have maybe expired or we tried out and we bought but never ended up using. So that's something to remember to go through when you have an extra few minutes here and there. And then another thing that I tend to overlook for a very long time was our towels. We would just get more and more, and we would forget to declutter all of the old towels that we didn't need anymore. So here I am finally going through all of our towels, organizing them, and then pulling out the ones that could be given to an animal shelter because they always love to get secondhand towels. And then I always keep a few secondhand towels in our garage for emergency cleanup situations. One benefit of decluttering is knowing everything you have, and it is so much easier to keep everything organized and in an orderly manner. And it's also easier to put things away and clean and tidy in our home. I will make sure I link all of these decluttering motivating videos down below. But this was a really fun project where my friend asked me to come over and help her declutter. She had been traveling a lot and had moved to a lot of different places, And then she had all these boxes that she hadn't had time to go through. So she had brought them all to the home she was living in currently and just had a ton of stuff to go through and sort through. So we started by picking out a few boxes that were easy to deal with to start out. And we just took everything out of those and laid it out on her bed so we could see everything. And then we started sorting through all of these things. And of course, she had to make these decisions, but by doing it together, it just made it so much easier. In this decluttering clip, I was at my parents' house and we decided to go through and declutter this little shelving unit that is in their garage. My mom had not gone through any of this for years. I would say 20, maybe 30 years of stuff here that had just been pushed to the back. So by pulling everything out, we could see everything that she used all the time, and then the items that were expired or stuff that she didn't ever use and didn't really want to keep anymore. And then we just sorted through all of these items, putting them into piles of to get rid of and to keep. And since she had so much, we decided to start putting back the stuff she wanted to keep just to get it out of the way. And we weren't really organizing at this point. We were just setting it all back on the shelves. And we made sure that all the things that she did decide to get rid of, we put down into a box so she could go through and drop off at one of those collection places for chemicals. And we did that a few weeks later. She was able to fit so many things on here that she had previously stashed other places, so it still looked full, but it was very organized. Here I am helping another one of my friends declutter, and if you've never decluttered with a friend, I would definitely recommend it. It's not only motivating, but it is so much fun. You can laugh through things that might have been irritating if you were decluttering by yourself. And the process does go by faster because you have someone to pull things out and to bounce ideas off of and talk through problem areas or things that you're unsure of. So definitely decluttering with someone else is a huge way to get motivated. Our goal with her room was to get all of the shoes off the floor and up into the closet, and we were able to do it. At the end of this decluttering project, which took a few hours, we had her whole room completely organized with nothing left out on the floor. If you're interested in more decluttering tips and tricks, you can check out my ebook. In just a few minutes, you can implement the strategies I use to declutter every room in my home. I hope some of these tips and tricks along my decluttering journey have been helpful. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button to join my channel, and you can click right here to watch this video. See you next time. Bye.